Okay, guys, welcome back to the next episode of the podcast. This is a little bit different today because I've had a few tech issues over the last few episodes of attempting to record this podcast. So, this is a slightly different setup I'm using today. So, this is a shorter episode, and I'm going to do something a little bit different than I usually do. But it's kind of a test just to make sure that everything's working okay because I don't want to do any more episodes and something go wrong halfway through and then I lose what I recorded for you guys. So I just want to make sure this is working today. So this is a bit of a fingers crossed situation. What I'm going to do today, rather than do a full length um, episode where I address one topic and kind of talk through it, or I have a guest on and do an interview, I'm going to basically just answer some questions that people put into my Substack chat thread a couple of days ago. Um, I basically just asked people what is their, biggest challenge on Substack right now. What are they struggling with? And I got a few really good responses to that. So what I thought I would do rather than answer them in the chat thread itself, I thought I'd record an episode of the podcast and answer it here so that the people who ask the questions can get the answers and you guys listen to the podcast can also get answers to those questions as well. So that's what we're going to do today. If you're listening to this on the podcast, make sure to subscribe to it. Make sure to give it a rating, give it a review. Let me know that you like it. Reply in the comments on the Substack post as well, and tell me what you thought of it. If you have any questions off the back of what I say during this recording, then do let me know what those might be. If you're watching this on YouTube, on the YouTube version of this, later on, make sure again to subscribe, to like the video, and to if you have any questions, leave them in the comments, and I'll do my best to reply to those as well. Okay, so let's dive right into this. So the question that I asked was again, what is your biggest challenge as a writer slash creator right now? It wasn't even about Substack itself, but just in general as a writer or creator. So I'm not going to answer all of these because I had about 20 or so responses to that, but I'm going to just address a few. And I will name people by name, so hopefully you don't mind me using your name in this podcast. But I'm going to do that. So the first question was from, or the first answer, should I say, was from Alison May. She said in response, I've been dithering about how to structure my work. I've been writing online for 22 years, and right now my work is spread across Substack, WordPress, PayHip, and Circle community. Most of me wants everything in one place, and the rest of me wants to keep whispering that I need different platforms for different aspects of everything when I'm pretty certain Circle could be gone if I just structure Substack right. I'm driving myself mad. Alison, that's a great response. Thank you for that. So this is a common sort of question. Like, do you need to be everywhere at once online, or can you just be in one place? And I do think that you can be in too many places at once. I do think that you have to really carefully evaluate the what you're getting from each of those platforms. Are you getting uh, a good response? Are you getting fruit from it? Essentially, is something happening on the platform that you're on? If it isn't, if you genuinely are not really seeing any kind of any kind of product or response or action that's been taken as a result of you being in that platform, you don't need to be on it. You don't need to have a Substack, WordPress, PayHip, and Circle community. You don't need to be on Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok all simultaneously if they're not working in tandem in some capacity. If you can cross promote your stuff and repurpose things and spread them across different platforms, then great, do that. Make it less of a chore for yourself. But definitely, if you feel like you can work on one platform, don't be afraid to stop using the other ones. I'm going to check my sound here. Yep, that's okay. Don't be afraid to check. Don't be afraid to step away from the other ones if you need to, because you don't want to overload yourself. So yeah, certainly there are definitely ways to do everything on Substack. If you got a Circle community or something like that externally, then if you can make that work, then do that as well. I may be dabbling more in that myself soon too. Maybe looking at things like Circle alongside Substack. So I might have more of an answer to that Alison later down the line. But yeah, definitely if it is driving you mad, if you feel like it is too much to have multiple presences across multiple platforms, then definitely scale it back. Be ruthless about it. Cut out the ones that aren't making a difference for you and focus more of your effort and your time on the ones that are. Mark said his biggest sort of challenge right now is balancing the soul satisfying work often done on spec with contracts that pay the bills. So yeah, that's a big thing, and it's something I grapple with as well. How do I balance doing what I really love when it comes to writing, like fiction and things like that, with the stuff that's going to pay the bills? And I do think that there is a balance to be struck there. I do think you have to be really um conscientious about it, very intentional about the way you structure your time in your day. Again, I've mentioned this before, but for me, what I often do is I set aside the morning, or should set aside the morning for fiction, because that's the time my brain is most creative, and then I set aside everything after lunch for everything else that I do, writing on Substack, coaching, my other businesses, that sort of thing. So I try to get the real creative stuff done first in the morning. I'll get that, not get it out of the way, but just focus more of my energy on that, and then the other stuff that I can do more methodically, more admin kind of work can be done after lunch. It is hard to find that balance though. It is definitely, it's difficult to want to, I know that you want to give more of your time to your creative stuff because that's stuff that is soul satisfying, as Mark describes it, that you really enjoy. And it's hard to not give more time to that. But I do think if you can just set aside um portions in your day, structure your day into 3 or 4 chunks, 2 to 3 hours each, or whatever way you want to do it. And just try and be really careful and, as I said, conscientious and ruthless about focusing certain things, putting certain things in those boxes, should I say, throughout the day to make sure you focus on them. Hope that answered the question in some way, Mark. Similarly, I think Claire said, a big challenge is having time outside of work, which is what I should be doing now. I work for myself and I'm a tyrant. I find it hard to carve out time for much more than research and note making at the moment, but I'm enjoying this early part of the process as much as I can. Yeah, I think that is it is really difficult to set aside time outside of work, especially whenever the work that you're doing, if it's writing, kind of overlaps so much with it overlaps so much with what you enjoy doing, and with everything else you have to do as well. So you'll kind of find that, or I kind of find as well, that in my free time, or the time that should be free, I will drift back to Substack. I'll drift back to my other businesses. I'll drift back to thinking about work and doing little bits and pieces of work. And my wife's the same. She's a photographer, so she'll frequently drift back to editing or just doing bits and pieces with her social media and things like that in the time when we should just be relaxing. It is very difficult to do that. And again, I do think you need to set the time aside, set aside those portions in your day, compartmentalize your day as much as you possibly can. Um, and yeah, just getting free time is difficult, but I really do think it's something we need to prioritize as creators and as creative people, is giving our brains that chance to rest and relax, and be bored. I said this before to somebody recently: give your brain a chance to be bored, because whenever you're bored, that's whenever your best ideas will come. That's whenever you'll have those little brainwave moments. So, yeah, definitely try and give yourself as much time as you can in that sense. Okay, Divyang, hope I'm saying your name right, says, to be very honest, this has been bugging me for a while now. I've been writing 2 newsletters on Substack for the past month, and it's not like I started with these 2 on Substack only. Both are already running somewhere else. This brings me to the problem that my growth has become way too scattered here on Substack. I love the community dynamics of Substack way better than any other social media. Now I'm a bit confused, as it is the beginning of the Substack journey. For me, should I keep writing and focusing on both, or just move on with one? Some advice, please. I always say that the in the earlier stages of your Substack journey, and I mean the first few months on the platform, whenever you're maybe below 1,000 subscribers, for instance, or a few hundred subscribers, focus 80% of your time on networking and 20% of your time on creating content, creating new content. So for someone like Divyang, if you already have content somewhere else that you can share on a Substack, that's great. It's going to save you a lot of time. If you're trying to create fresh new content for Substack, then try and minimize that as much as you can. Maybe post once a week, one article a week, maybe try and post one note a day, that kind of thing. But spend most of your time in the early days networking with other people, creating connections, making friends on the platform. Those people you connect with in the early days will go on to become your collaborators further down the line. There'll be people who you'll bring on to your lives, onto your podcast, who you will do guest posts for, they will do guest posts for you, etc. And focus more of your time on that networking side of things. You will grow your audience through doing that. Follow people, subscribe to their publications, leave comments on notes, on articles, just generally spend most of your time in the early days doing that networking stuff. It will pay off for you further down the line. You will see the fruit and the results of that later. So for Divyang, I would say if it's the beginning of your Substack journey, write, but keep it to a minimum and spend more time networking. I hope that answers your question in some way. Okay. And this is an interesting one. So Ilya, I think that's how I say your name, says the thing that's challenging you right now is the fact that he says the fact my expectations are broken because it's not enough to just write. You need to be your own marketing executive, and this is incredibly true of writers, especially online writers. Um, it isn't enough to just write. I wish it was enough to just write. I wish you could just write and not do any other work and people would organically find you and find your stuff and you can spend 100% of your time doing that. But it is just not the case. You just can't do it. No writer can do that unless they've been around for a very long time and have a marketing team behind them or years and years of content and experience. You do have to understand and learn how to market your work, market yourself, build your personal brand. You're gonna hear me say that a lot, but it is true. You just have to do it. And it is a broken expectation for a lot of writers because we come into this thinking we can just write, and that's what we want to do. That's what our heart wants to do as writers. We just want to write, put words on the page, share our story, share our writing. But we do need to learn how to market that stuff as well. And marketing can be enjoyable. It doesn't have to be this big chore, this thing that kind of stands in the way. It can definitely be something that is really good fun. So find ways to gamify that for yourself, to make it fun, to make it a challenge that you can undertake and succeed in as well around writing. Um, but yes, if you're a writer and you've come across as you've hit this wall with marketing, and you feel like you're on your own and you're the only person who's ever had to do it, um, everybody has to do it. So find ways to make it fun, learn from other people, watch what they're doing, reach out to me if you want to ask some questions about how to market yourself and market your work. Substack's a great place to do that. If you're on Substack, you're in the right place for marketing your work because it's very, very easy to do it. So I hope that Ellie, I hope you can find um, a way to do that makes sense for you and it's easy. And again, reach out to me if you need to ask any questions about that. Andrea said his challenge is focusing on quality work every day, saying no, and making enough adult decisions to stay on track. I think we're all on that boat, Andrea as well. Yeah, say no. I think is a big part of that. It's really hard to say no sometimes. Opportunities will come along. People will say, "Do you want to do this?" or will offer you things, and it's very hard sometimes to say no to that stuff. But I do think if you can focus on the core things in terms of your growth, in terms of your personal brand development, in terms of your actual writing, and try and say no to anything that doesn't feel like it's aligned with your vision and with your journey, then that will help you longer term. If you can sort of cut some things out. Obviously, if opportunities come along and they seem like they're a really good idea, and you feel maybe that you're not ready for it or that you're not experienced enough or prepared, um, don't be afraid to ask more questions about it. Don't be afraid to explore it and see if maybe it is something you could do because those opportunities that you feel like you're not ready for might actually be the things that propel you to the next stage of your journey. So don't say no to everything, but definitely if you do think it's going to detract from the work that you're doing and detract from the work that you want to do that fills you with joy, then don't be afraid to say no. So the next comment was that someone is struggling to decide on a theme and wonder if what they're writing actually makes sense. But she said that she's over the moon with her new daily exercise of writing and reading great content on Substack. And I agree, Substack is awesome for that. And it is hard to decide on a theme, but also don't feel like you need to box yourself into a niche right at the start. Take your time. Your theme will probably change a little bit in the early days. So understand that and be sort of comfortable with that your brand might change, that the name of your publication might change, your layout, your colors, what you write about might change as well. So be okay with that. Be flexible in the beginning, in the early days, in the first few months, whenever you're on the platform, and just keep exploring your writing, keep putting it out there, listen for signals from your audience, what resonates with them, what questions they repeatedly ask over and over again. And what feedback have you got where someone has told you that you've helped them in some specific way, and what was that off the back of? Try and lean into more of that as much as you possibly can, but don't put pressure on yourself to nail a theme right at the beginning and then stick to that forever. You can change it if you want to, and of course, on Substack as well, you can also start a second publication to talk about a different theme if you want to. It doesn't have to be on one specific theme the entire time. So, yeah, don't box yourself into the start. Carolyn has said, for me, it's a mix of courage to take the next step, doing the behind the scenes work slash learning how to do this and review and tweak and things like that. Getting clear on the value that she offers, and she's been mapping that out. And says that tech isn't really her strong point, and sometimes she feels a bit silly asking a simplistic question or being nervous about doing something new. And she says, "There, I said it." Carolyn, that everything about that's great. First of all, if you do have any questions that you feel are silly, they're not silly. Someone else will have already asked that question many times before. Somebody else will want to ask that question, and will be glad that you did, so that they can learn from the answer that comes along. So don't ever feel silly about asking tech questions. It's the only way to learn. So definitely do that, and ask questions below this post on Substack or on YouTube or whatever as well if you need to. Getting clear on the value that you offer is a really big part of being a writer and a creator who's wants to build what they're doing into into a business. So um, and that's something that comes over time. You have to really think about it. You have to really evaluate yourself and again what you feel like you can offer from your own experience. I think everyone can offer something, and it's just really trying to work out what can you do that's going to bring the most value to your audience. What are you going to be able to do that you can do for the next 10 years without burning out over it? What are you passionate about? What can you stand on a soapbox and talk about for 30 minutes straight? What will light you up seeing somebody else achieve? Think about those kind of things when you're trying to think about what your value offer is. And having the courage to take the next step in anything is a big deal, and it's hard in the beginning. It's definitely not easy to do that, and whatever that next step might actually be. So, Carolyn, keep going with that. You're doing a really good job. You're someone who shows up a lot in my stuff, and I'm always so glad to see your name pop up. And yeah, just keep at it. And if you have any questions, reach out about that. And if you're not sure about what value you offer as part of your publication and your writing, then again, maybe ask somebody else about it, like bounce some ideas off people that you know on the platform. Go on lives, go on podcasts, just have conversations. I often find that having a conversation with somebody else is the best way to sort of spark your own insight into yourself. There'll be answers that you give to somebody else's questions that you won't have even realized you had in your brain until that moment. So do more of that. Do more conversational kind of stuff. Do more self exploration if you can. Someone else says that they have shiny object syndrome. They shift gears too quickly and they don't remain consistent. I definitely can relate to that. I definitely have shiny object syndrome myself. I'll move from one thing to the next too quickly. And again, just try and be consistent, try and stick with something for a few months before you move on to the next thing. If something else comes along that you think would be great and would be a really good thing to try, put it into the back burner, maybe note it down somewhere, keep it written on a post-it note on your desk to explore later. Don't feel like you have to start it straight away. Give yourself a bit of time to settle on something else first. Same with platforms. If you want to master a platform first and then move on to another one once you feel like you've got a good handle on it, that's a good way to go as well. Autumn says that the big challenge is having time, finding the time to research, to experience, to process, and then to write. And I can fully relate to that. Getting the time to do these things is not easy. It's really hard to just, again, compartmentalize your day. But I think it just comes over time. It comes with discipline. It comes with flexing that muscle and working it until you can figure out what works best for you. Experiment, try things at different times of the day. Try and see where you can carve out little corners of your day to do a bit of work. But again, don't put pressure on yourself either. You don't have to achieve everything overnight. It's okay to take a bit of time to figure out what works best for you. So just try and find corners of your day, little parts of your day where you can do your work. Can you get up earlier? Can you go to bed earlier so you're more refreshed in the morning? Again, I can't speak to what everyone's going through personally, but I only know what I've been through, and it is hard to find time, and I totally relate to that. Ryan, my good friend Ryan, says his challenge is overthinking and trying to say too much, and he gets distracted with research. And I know from working with Ryan, that he definitely does struggle with those things. But he has so much wisdom in his head, and I'm excited for him to get more of it out onto the page, and into his lives and his podcast eventually as well, because he has great things to share with people, and you should definitely reach out to him if you're the kind of person who struggles with that as well. I think we all try to say too much. We try to pack too much into every article and everything we write and every note. And really, if we just focus on one thing at a time, focus on one topic, and just write around that topic and let that be enough. Don't put pressure on yourself to try and over deliver every single time. Just deliver enough, just do enough that's going to help one person overcome one problem at a time. Ted says the biggest issue he has is finding time to write slash publish slash promote with a day job and raising kids. And again, I totally get what it's like. I don't have kids myself, but I get what it's like trying to balance all that up with your day job as well. And again, just try and find one or two little portions of your day and set time aside to work on those things. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. And don't be afraid to talk about it. Talk about that kind of stuff in your notes and your articles, because everyone can relate to that. It's a great way to create connections on Substack and on any platform that you're on. Everyone can relate. So share your problems, share your challenges, wherever you're at, and I pretty much guarantee somebody who you know or maybe barely know will come out of the woodwork and will basically say, I struggle with that as well. And you get a bit of a conversation going. You never know what can come out of that. You never know what client or opportunity or product or paid subscriber, if you're on Substack, can end up coming out of the back of one of those conversations. Um, Javaria, again, apologies if I'm not saying your name right, says, similar to Ted, I guess, finding a good balance between work and uni and passion projects. And we're working on exams right now. Um, she says, I feel like everything is melting together and I'm working on trying to find out how to stay focused on one thing at a time. I think a few people have had the same challenge just in this chat thread, trying to balance everything up. And I would say to everyone as well, try and find a community, try and get friends around you on any platform that you're on, who can help you with that process, whether it's on Substack or LinkedIn or Instagram or Facebook, wherever it is you are, as a writer or Medium as well, or YouTube. Try and just get a community of people who can show up on your notes feed on a regular basis. You can connect with friends that you can make. I obviously have my own community within my paid community, and I have a sort of middle tier community called Catalyst Club for anyone who maybe isn't ready for one-to-one coaching with me just yet, but maybe they want to have that accountability and that support from other people going through the same journey as them. So if that is the kind of thing that you would find helpful, if you'd like to have more ongoing weekly, monthly support from other people who are growing and experiencing those challenges as well, if you want to collaborate with other people, Catalyst Club, which is the community that I have, is a great place to try. So again, reach out to me about that. You have to apply to join it, because I want to have the right people in there. But reach out to me and ask questions about that as well if you have them, and we're great to have you there. Ray says keeping all of his projects under control and doing the work to finish what I've started. Huge thing, finishing what you've started is so difficult. And again, same sort of challenge that everybody else has had in this group, keeping all those things balanced and under control and running smoothly. Finishing what you started is so hard. I know that personally as a writer of books who struggle sometimes to finish them, and I shouldn't, but I do struggle with that as well. But again, I kind of think give yourself deadlines you can actually hit. It's more about the rhythm and the consistency and working the muscle. It's not about finishing something within 10 days. It's about setting aside half an hour to write every day, or saying you want to write 500 words a day of your article or your book. So try and give yourself achievable goals that will still push you, but will definitely be achievable longer term. And the last one here is from Wendy, who says, I also have fear of taking the next step syndrome. Nicely put. I don't want to self-publish my baby that I worked so hard on and have it not sell, or worse yet, having a mistake in it that I didn't know how I should fix, or didn't know I should fix, and then my ineptitude go viral and not my book. That's a big fear. One of the big things that worries me is trying to assemble an art group. I don't even know 50 to 100 people that I trust to read my book and then put a review on Amazon and Goodreads. Anyone have a good handle on assembling an art group? As a self-published writer, I know exactly what those fears are like about having to do it yourself, and um, it is definitely a challenge. The buck stops with you. There's nobody else there to pass any kind of blame to if something does go wrong. But at the same time, you have complete control over what you do. You can make more money from self-publishing per sale than you would get from working with a publisher. So that is a big positive in that. And in terms of the art group, I'll give you my advice from my experience. I find that things like TikTok are a great place to find art readers. I reach out to lots of different people on TikTok who I see already reviewing books and making content around those books, and they're really good candidates for giving you content that you can share about your book, for giving you reviews. I've got most of my reviews for my books from people who've reviewed it on TikTok. So you might feel like you don't know a lot of people personally who can do that, but people are definitely out there. All you need to do is go onto platforms like TikTok, search for your genre, search for things like book talk in the search bar, and just try and narrow it down to people who you think might be a good fit. Try and filter by the newer videos and ones that have been published most recently, and then reach out to those people via DM and see if they'd be interested in doing it, and pitch your book to them in a way that feels natural and organic, and use their name in the pitch as well. That's my advice for that. When they use TikTok, use Instagram, Bookstagram, should I say, and Book Talk, and just know that you're going to have to reach out to many more people than you're going to get back in terms of reviews. So if you want 50 reviews for your book, you're going to probably have to reach out to a few hundred people in order to get that. It's time consuming. That might seem daunting, might seem boring, not something you want to do, but I think you just got to put the work in. We've all just got to do that as writers. We have to learn to market ourselves. And again, the buck often stops with us. So if you need any help with that, Wendy, specifically, you can reach out to me about that if you hear this in the episode or watch it on YouTube. And anybody else whose question that I've answered or tried to answer in the course of this chat and this very sort of thrown together video this week, this podcast episode, do feel free to reach out to me after this as well. Send me a direct message, comment in the chat thread again, and I will do my best to follow up on that with you if I can. But I hope this was useful. Hope that anyone who's listening to this got a few answers out of it. If you're one of my subscribers, you can go into that chat thread and see those questions again, and see exactly what I was talking about in terms of those answers. If you have any questions off the back of this, again, don't be afraid to reach out. As always, leave a like, leave a review, and subscribe on YouTube or on the podcast if you can, and keep following along on Substack on this journey that we're all on together as writers and creatives. Hope you enjoyed this. The podcast will be back again next week. Hopefully have some awesome guests in the works as well. Don't be afraid to check out some of my previous videos, my previous podcast episodes, and listen to those. And the guests I've had have been amazing. So you'll definitely learn a lot from those conversations. But thanks for being here as always, and I will see you again really soon on Substack, on the podcast, on YouTube, and anywhere else where you find these episodes. See you soon.